how do you think the quarterback reps will be split up? I mean, if it's a legit quarterback competition, it's 50-50. If it's not, it'll be some other mix. What's your best guess?
My guess is 70-30 Lance. I don't think you can go 50-50. Come on. One guy you just signed off the street who's been a failed player. The other guy you invested a lot in. Come on, you're really going to make Trey Lance go 50-50 with Sam Darnold? I think it's 70-30. I think it's 70-30 Lance. And if it's not 60-40 Lance, I'd be like, wow. That to me, if it's 50-50, that really is a negative statement about Trey Lance. Because you got to remember this, Trey Lance theoretically knows the offense better than Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold has been in the offense for weeks. Trey Lance has been in this offense for years. Now, that has to matter. That if they're 50-50, that'll be a bad sign. Bad sign, I think.
It'll matter in OTAs, and I think you're right about OTAs. I think it'll be 70-30 in OTAs for all the reasons you just laid out. But training camp's different.
70-30
yes.
Trey. Yeah.
Yes, because that starts in a week, and
right.
Sam's been here for a couple months, if that. Sure, absolutely. Training camp's different though, because in OTAs you essentially install the offense, and then you come back for a training camp and you do it again. It's your second time installing the offense, and so I could see it being a 50-50 split, especially if Trey's inconsistent in training camp and in OTAs. And the thing about OTAs is we won't really know. We'll be there for like 1 day a week, but they'll practice 3 or 4 days a week, and he could be good in front of us and bad the other 3 days, which I think may have happened last year. Like in front of us, he was good, but I think on the other days he may have been experiencing arm fatigue and stuff like that. So we don't know. They might look at him in OTAs and be like, you know what? This needs to be a 50-50 competition in training camp. That would be wild.
I mean, I'll tell you what I'm looking for this summer. I'm looking for how many plays does the play go to, go all the way through and Trey still holding the ball, because that happened a lot last year, and that's not that's not by design. So that's one. The other one I'm looking for is how many layups does Sam miss versus Trey? Layups. I mean, in most of it's layups, right? It's very infrequently that they take shots down the field. It's a lot of stuff within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. You got to hit those. You got to hit guys, and you got to hit them in stride, and you can't airmail that. How many are they in the same range accuracy wise? That's what I'm looking for.
Right. With Trey in particular, like we've seen him extend plays, scramble, throw deep. All that's nice. But to be a starting quarterback in the NFL, you also have to be able to get the ball out of your hands quickly. You have to, not everything can be a broken play, a long play, a scramble. Like, what about, like, to your point, all those quick throws that Kyle Shanahan schemes up? They're open, they're layups. Like, do you hit them on time? Your rhythm, your timing, and your accuracy on the short stuff. Because if you can't do that, you're not a starting quarterback in the NFL. So that's definitely one thing to look at with him. And then with Darnold, like, I guess the turnover thing, like the guy's had a problem fumbling. Now, we may not see this. He may be just phenomenal in practice, but I'm kind of curious to see what it looks like when the games start. Because like Hoyer, remember Brian Hoyer was great in practice with the 49ers. And then as soon as the season started, he got hit a couple times and it was bad, really bad.
Yeah, I'll tell you the other thing I'm looking for is there's a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL that can throw, and there's a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL that can move. But how many guys can throw accurately on the move? That's what that's what made Roethlisberger. It's what made Breeze. I think it's one of the great skills of Purdy is that he's very accurate on the move. I know Trey can move. I think Darnold can move too, but can they throw with accuracy while moving? Because that's a big part of it. You got to be able to throw on the move because you're going to be flushed out. There's very few times you're going to be able to set up in the middle of the pocket, plant your feet, step into your throw.
Especially on this team.
Yeah. And it's just the NFL with all these super fast defensive players. You got to be able to throw with accuracy on the run, and maybe not full sprint, but at least while moving within the pocket, you got to throw with accuracy. I want to see if Darnold can do it. I want to see if Trey can do it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's going to be interesting. We're going to be charting their throws daily. And
stats.
I mean, if it's a 50-50 split, like it's almost like the media is going to determine the winner. Like Kyle could, if you just roll out the balls and let it go, it's not. He may not be able to make a decision. It's just going to go to whoever completes more passes and throws more touchdown passes in practice.
Well, that's my question to you. Do you think that Kyle wants to make this decision or have this decision made for him?
I think he wants to have the decision made for him. That's what I'm saying. I don't think he wants to make this decision. I don't think he wants to
I'm getting that vibe too.
I don't think he wants to overrule his leadership council, his Cabo clique. Like, he doesn't want to force it, because he did last year. He forced Trey Lance on this team when a lot of people wanted Jimmy, and I think he felt that put Trey in an unfair position, which it did. So now, you know what? Let the decision make itself. And if it's Sam Darnold week 1, okay, fair. So be it. Let's go with Sam. That doesn't mean it'll be Sam Darnold week 2. And that's
right.
that is another potential backfiring of this plan is if Kyle doesn't have conviction in any of these quarterbacks and he has a competition and one guy wins for week 1 and loses in Pittsburgh, are you going to pull the plug and go to some other guy week 2? Are you just going to is it going to be like a rotisserie because you don't like any of them?
And then if it's really, really close, how does he play his hand? Like, for example, in my mind, Grant, that Pittsburgh week 1 game, I don't want to say it's a loss, but history says it's a loss. I mean, I think Pittsburgh's had like 15 years of Heinz Field. They're like 13-2 or something like that in their first home game.
And you know Tomlin's going to have his guys ready to go.
No question. Kyle, and the first home game's week 1, they're 8-1. Yeah. So what if we feel like, you know what, Darnold looked better than Trey, but he says, you know, maybe let's say Darnold looks better than Trey, leads the team better in the preseason, produces more points when they're on the field. The team, by all great ways to analyze the thing, Darnold looks better.
Wins.
Darnold wins.
Goes to Pittsburgh.
Trey starts week 1. Okay. What are people going to be saying?
I see. I don't think Kyle wants to put. I don't think Kyle wants to put Trey. I don't think Kyle wants to put Trey in that position. I think Kyle would go with Sam Darnold in that position. But what's interesting to me is, let's say Sam Darnold wins a fair and square quarterback competition, starts week 1, and the offense puts up 10 points and loses, because that's what the Niners are. I mean, there's a world where whoever wins this quarterback competition is going to go to Pittsburgh and score 10 points and lose. In that sense, the winner of the competition is the loser of the competition, because week 2 you got the Rams.
Right. And it's like, or is it going to be one of these, man, Trey looks great. Trey looks great. Oh, Trey gets a start in Pittsburgh. They get annihilated. TJ Watt sacks him 5 times. And then all of a sudden, you know what? We're going to Sam in week 2. And then there's going to be a lot of people
wasted your time with your quarterback competition, right? So now your quarterback competition gave you a false result. You went with the wrong quarterback. Now you're flipping and flopping. It's like, this could go bad.
It could be very.
This is why they say if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none.
Right.
No conviction in your most important position.
And let's be honest here. That let's just say they lose week 1 in Pittsburgh. Well, then they're looking at the Rams, then a national TV game against the New York Giants.
Another well-coached team that started 6-1 last year. They're going to start hot. Well-coached team.
You know, then you get Colt McCoy probably in week 4 against with Arizona. Then you get national TV against Dallas. I'm just saying that this season, once it gets started, it's coming fast and furious. So all I'm saying is, back to the original question of the quarterback competition. Is it a facade? Is it legit? Is it going to be clear cut? If it's clear cut, I love it. To me, this team needs to have a quarterback competition, and it needs to be clear cut to everybody who the number 1 guy is. Okay, but what if we see a quarterback competition and we don't get a clear cut number 1? Then you've got a very volatile month of September staring you in the face.
I feel like there's only 2 good results for the Niners here. Brock Purdy comes back. No, for the beginning of training camp, he's fine. And they're like, you know what? Forget that quarterback competition. Brock's our guy. That's a good result for the 49ers. Or
at least it's decisive. It's clear.
Yeah, exactly. You have a quarterback now. Or Brock's not ready, and Trey gets an opportunity, and he just destroys it. He's great. Right. And they say, you know what? We don't need a quarterback competition. Trey's looking good. Sam, thank you very much. You're our backup. if neither of those things happen and they're going back and forth between Darnold and Trey, and one day they're like, oh, Darnold looks great, oh, Trey looks great, like now neither one look good, like that's all bad. And if that's what happens, I'm thinking this is a team that could, have another 2010 season. 2020 is what I'm trying to say. 2020.
And what if one of these quarterbacks, let's say all three of them play, okay? Because it sounds like at least Shanahan, last thing I heard him say was that he thinks Brock could be back by training camp. Let's just say that is the case. Let's say one of these quarterbacks is just atrocious. Then what? Do they cut Sam Darnold? Let's say it's Sam Darnold. They cut him. They cut him and go with the kid from Arkansas as the number 3 guy and save that.
You have to get Jed's permission on that, and then Jed would have to get his mom's permission because that's throwing away $3.5 million. They threw away $2 million on Sudfeld. This is almost twice that. So I mean, it's up to the Yorks. Like I'm sure you could if that's the right football decision, but you have to get the clearance from the Yorks. And to their credit, they've pretty much said yes on every single thing Kyle's asked them to pay for. You want the top D tackle?
Yeah, I mean the NFL has unbelievable revenues. That's why, because they have all kinds of revenue coming in.
Right.
So yeah, right. You want get rid of Chip Kelly's entire coaching staff? No problem. We'll cut the check. Get out of here.
Sure. But to your point, like they went through a bunch of quarterbacks last year. I think it's probably worth $3.5 million for them to have a third string quarterback. Is the way I look at it.
Yeah, but I mean,
a good one.
What if Trey comes out and Sam Darnold's way better? What if Sam Darnold's just way better than Trey? Then what?
I guess I didn't plan for that. I just don't see that with
trade Trey Lance like Rappaport is referenced, or was that all Rappaport?
Boy, does that guy not know what's going on?
Either Rappaport's going to look really good or really bad, right?
It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. That guy has done a lot of He's speculating like us, but he's acting like he knows, but he doesn't. And his track record of talking about the Niners the last 2 years is terrible. So I wouldn't
don't
take
know
cues
that
from,
he doesn't know. We suspect he doesn't know. But what if he does know, Grant? What if all of a sudden he gets?
If he knew, he would say that he has sources
traded at the deadline.
But he hasn't said that there's a source. It's all speculation.
No.
And
you're right.
It's always like, well, it's like, okay, man, I don't want to hear
very
speculation.
specific, hasn't it been?
Larry's better at speculating than Ian. Yeah, but he's terrible at it. You are much better at speculating and reading. His ability to read tea leaves is subpar. I gotta say, it's subpar. Yours is excellent.
I thought he'd be dealt by draft day, and I was wrong. So,
well, you were putting a little too much stock in Ian. I think I want to say that.
I really was.
I want to say that.
Ian's
leading people astray. Anyway, so it's possible that Sam Darnold has a great camp, but to me, like the thing with Darnold is you're hoping he can have like a Alex Smith rebirth, where like he's not a franchise quarterback, but he might be a game manager. Although I know Kyle's saying that he has franchise-like qualities. Yeah, whatever.
I just want to see Darnold even just practice, because I've heard so many things about how great he looks, and I've watched him a ton, and I don't think he looks great. So I'm really eager to see either I'm right or all these other people are right, because we both can't be right.
Look, take this to the bank, all right? We've seen enough of Sam Darnold. This is who Sam Darnold is. He's a guy on the 49ers. You put the best situation around him possible. You can trust him for maybe 2 games. 2. 3 games, bad Darnold's coming. He's going to find a way to lose a game, and you can look at his stretch, the 4-2 stretch. There was some bad football there. You can trust him for maybe 2 games, but he's a loser. He finds ways to lose games. He's been doing it a long time. He's a backup quarterback. I wouldn't trust him for an extended stretch. But that's what backups are.
He reminds me of a starting pitcher the Giants used to have named Brett Tomko. And everybody loved Brett Tomko. Why? Because he was a nice guy. He gave all these nice interviews, and he was 6'5", and he threw 95. And so it was like, but then I was talking to a couple hitters, and they're like, guess what? When you've been in the league for 4 or 5 years and you suck as a pitcher, most of the guys coming to the plate have good numbers against you. So they step into the box with tremendous confidence. Yeah. And that's the same thing about defenses facing Sam Darnold. They step into the game with tremendous confidence that they can, pick off passes and beat
licking
Sam Darnold.
Their chops.
Yeah, because they've done it. They've done it before, and they all have they have that muscle memory of, I picked this guy off at MetLife 2 years ago.
I know you. Yeah, you're terrible.
Right.
Fifita says doesn't matter what quarterback they put in. They have the most quarterback-friendly system and all the weapons on offense that it'd be hard to mess up and not win. Even a mediocre quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo can take that team to a Super Bowl. Well, I guess we'll see.
9-29.
That's right.
How quickly we
Not-
forget. Every
not to mention the
quarterback
injuries.
not named Jimmy was 9-29 pre-Brock.
That's
Purdy.
right. I mean, Trey's had some
Shanahan.
struggles. I mean, so we'll see. Matthew
Hoyer,
Sanders, his last
everybody.
4,000-yard quarterback on the Niners was Garcia, is the next 4K quarterback on the roster right now. Matty Ice did it with Kyle, so I'm not buying. He's not interested in it. I mean, if one could stay healthy, you had to stay healthy to throw
Yeah,
for
you gotta stay
4,000
healthy.
yards. You got to. I don't know that. That's a good question, Matthew.